Weekly Shonen Jump is by far the biggest and most well-known manga magazine. It's commonplace to know about it in anime and manga circles in the West, with America having its own version of the physical magazine published from 2002 to 2012. A lot of people bring up Jump like it's something they know well, and I'm not saying I know all its ins and outs perfectly, but I feel like it's misrepresented a lot. People have a very rigid and narrow view of what Shonen Jump is, and over time it's solidified into predominantly one thing: battle shonen. To the general manga consuming audience, Jump is One Piece, Naruto, Dragon Ball, Jujutsu Kaisen, My Hero Academia, hype fights, Super Saiyan power-ups, the power of friendship, and a list of tropes that just goes on and on. To a lot of fans of Jump, this is what the magazine is and they enjoy it, but we then get non-fans as well who often declare that shonen manga, especially Shonen Jump as a magazine, is all the same, often with an air of superiority like it's lesser, cheaper, pedestrian manga. And while Jump is certainly very popular, and I believe all the previously mentioned series have great merit to them, there is so much more to Shonen Jump than what people think there is, and today we're going to look at that. We're going to look at one of my favorite things in the entire world, something that brings me joy nearly every single week: Weekly Shonen Jump. And a short interlude before we actually begin: if I don't mention your favorite Jump series, or some obscure series I haven't read yet, please just bear in mind I don't have infinite time, and I might have already talked about it in a different video. I love Jump, but there's hundreds of manga in its library, so we're only going to talk about a select few today, but hopefully they'll be interesting and enlightening in showing you that Shonen Jump isn't quite what you thought it was. To start, let's look at our current lineup as of January 2024. The aforementioned One Piece, My Hero Academia, and Jujutsu Kaisen are still in the magazine, all big battle shonen series that are very popular, beloved, as well as dismissed by some. But what else do we have? Undead Unluck currently has an ongoing anime. It's also a battle series, but an odd one too, full of these crazy side arcs that go in all sorts of different directions, but I won't spoil anything right now for anime onlys. Mission Yuzakura Family mixes spy action with slice of life and family elements. It's romantic, touching, and focuses on family. Family, 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 family. The Elusive Samurai is also a battle-focused series, but a historical one, with a drastically different setting and tone from what you'd expect from the usual Jump big hitters. Blue Box is a sports romance series that's down-to-earth and realistic, with no battles or fights in sight. It's so different from the usual battle shonen manga people think Jump is, that it's often mislabeled as a shoujo manga by people, and all I'll say about this is that the magazine isn't called Weekly Shoujo Jump, it's called Weekly Shonen Jump. While some of these are traditional battle series, they have other genres mixed in with them, and I can tell you for sure that they're nothing like the big three or Dragon Ball. Each are distinct, and while they borrow ideas from their predecessors and carry with them themes and ideas relevant to shonen manga, they are their own unique works. There are a few other action series currently in the magazine as well, like Sakamoto Days, which a lot of people describe as John Wick the manga. Lots of assassins and fun creative combat. Kill Blue is also an assassin series, but it mixes in school and slice of life elements, differentiating itself again. Mama Yu Yu is mixing isekai elements, but in reverse, to create this crazy fantasy isekai battle royale hybrid with some of the most fun paneling I've ever seen in a manga. And Kakurabachi is a little bit more generic and what you might expect from Jump, but with a little bit of a darker edge and a focus on sword fights. Overall though, every manga is trying to do their own thing, and it's a bit dismissive to throw them all into the same basket. We also have Witch Watch, which is part comedy, romance, slice of life, and battle. Akane Banashi, which is about Rakugo. Cypher Academy, a battle-esque manga about solving codes and ciphers, and a whole host of sports manga. Martial Master Asumi is MMA, Two on Ice is ice skating, and Green Green Greens is a brand new golfing manga. Jump has a ton of diversity if you actually read the magazine and the manga it has within it, and honestly you have no excuse not to, as you can read each of these for free every week via official means. It saddens me that people think shonen manga, and especially Shonen Jump, is all the same, when there's so much variety, not just with the battle manga it has, but with the non-battle series in its roster too, and that's just right now in 2024. Jump has 50 years of manga in its back catalogue, and they aren't all Naruto 2. Okay, bad example, Naruto 2 kind of actually exists. How about Dragon Ball 2? Oh fuck. One manga I didn't mention that's currently in the magazine is Me and Roboco. It's a comedy or gag manga following a robot maid. Rarely do chapters connect sequentially in a narrative, and each chapter has its own funny things happening. A lot of people bemoan gag series in Jump, see them as a waste of time, a waste of a slot in the magazine, especially when they survive, but their favourite act series don't. But gag manga have always been there, they've always been super important to Jump. Manga chapters are a piece of media that's meant to make you feel things. Predominantly happy in my opinion, and jokes are meant to make you smile. If you've caught up with One Piece, right now look at Luffy and his Gear 5. He's all happy and goofy. One Piece is no stranger to gag elements, and Oda is tapping directly into the cartoony whimsy that comics and manga are well known for. It's not something just made for kids, but something to make everyone smile. Gag manga also formed the backbone of Jump for years. Comedy series were crucial in Jump's survival as an early magazine, with works like Korenchi Gakuen by Go Nagai drawing in readers initially. Works like Dr. Toilet and The Gutsy Frog went on for hundreds of chapters in Jump's 70s, becoming the longest Jump manga at the time, and then we got Kochikame, running for a staggering 1,968 chapters, give or take, from 1976 to 2016. It was in the magazine for 40 whole years, and I don't think we'll see a manga of that size ever again. Kochikame was something funny and familiar people can pick up and read every week to make them laugh or smile, and there's something really pure about that to me. Gag manga are essential to Jump because one of its best qualities is its ability to brighten up someone's day, and I think that's a big reason why I really love Me and Roboco, because it has the capacity to do that on a week-by-week basis, depending on the jokes of course. Talking about manga from Jump's early years leads me to my next point, which is that these early years are often neglected. People will talk about the late 80s and 90s, the hits at least, but the 70s, Jump's initial full decade of serialization, is largely undiscussed, but it's full of interesting manga and mangaka. Hiroshi Motomiya was one of the most prominent forces in Jump during those early years, and you barely hear him discussed now. He had a handful of manga in Jump of varying lengths throughout his career, with Jump usually giving his series plenty of cover and colour pages even if they didn't last that long, presumably because they had faith in his storytelling abilities and respected him for his contribution to the magazine in his early years, his predominant contribution being Otoko Ippiki Gaki Daisho. Sure, we all know Goku and Luffy and even Kenshiro, but what about Mankichi Togawa, a character that was plastered on the covers of Jump in its early years? A story about a country boy making it big in Japan, fighting delinquents, amassing an army of followers and money through his wits and charisma. It's a tale full of friendship, effort, and victory. It's not entirely translated, but fan scans exist in English for about the first 50-ish chapters, and it's something I think every Jump fan should try to read. It's a fun piece of Jump history, and I think Otoko Ippiki is Jump's first ever face. These early years were packed with other interesting things too. Osamu Tezuka serialized part of his Lion Book series in Jump. Other authors like Leiji Matsumoto and Daijiro Morihoshi had works in Jump too, names you might not be familiar with but are significant in manga history. Mazinger Z started in Jump as well, which was a huge influence on mecha, as well as Barefoot Gen, a World War II manga that's well known in the West for its depiction of the nuclear bombs that dropped over Japan. The 70s of Jump is full of unique manga, things you probably wouldn't even dream of. It's so rich in history, but also very hard to penetrate as someone who doesn't know Japanese, and likely even in Japan, most of those manga are forgotten. Even so, Jump was founded on diversity, plenty of different manga, but always full of spirit. The 80s and 90s are a period that are a little unfamiliar to me. I know some of the bigger titles, but need to read and research a lot more. What I do know, however, is how this portion of Jump is perceived by a lot of people, often called the Golden Age of Jump. The 80s brought with it a lot of classic series like Fist of the North Star, City Hunter, and Dragon Ball, harder hitting, mostly action-based series, leading to the more battle shonen-esque perception we have of the magazine today, but also a subset seeing this era of Jump as manly. Not helped by Sakigake Otokojuku and other works by Akira Miyashita, but the early 80s prior to Kenshiro's abs being plastered on Jump's covers was surprisingly very feminine. We had Aurelie from Dr. Slump as a main heroine, Akira Toriyama's art being a bit more cutesy back then. Cat's Eye focused on a predominantly female cast. Other works like Shape Up Ran, Scandal, and even Kickoff had a lot more female characters or a more traditionally feminine presentation, especially with the covers. Works like Fumani Kojiro by Masumi Kurumada and Wingman by Masakazu Katsura also had softer, more feminine art styles, making Jump appear much softer at the time, bubbly and fun. I'd like to think it was a magazine for everyone and anyone. People of any age, gender, personality could pick it up and find something that would engage them and make them smile. Something I still think stands today, but it existed back then too. There's this one manga in particular that really intrigued me upon hearing about it from this period, and I think it embodies the ideas of being more open, fun, and feminine above all, and that manga is Stop Hibari-Kun. Hibari has enjoyed a little bit of a resurgence recently, with more people talking about it in modern times and making video essays on it. I think it's in large part because Hibari is a trans girl in an early 80s shonen magazine. Granted, the manga isn't perfect, it has some questionable of its time jokes, racist humor, and other stuff that hasn't aged well. But the thing that strikes me the most about the series is how well Hibari is depicted. Some people oppose her and her choices, but she always remains true to herself, and the manga depicts her as an absolute girl boss. Hibari is always cool, always funny. She's beautiful, good at schoolwork, and is athletic. She was also incredibly popular in Jump, frequently appearing on covers throughout the early 80s, sometimes back to back, which isn't something that happens a lot in Jump as they'd like to rotate what series is on the cover. Back-to-back covers are usually reserved for characters like Luffy and One Piece, but Hibari back in the 80s was that popular. People seemingly loved Hibari. She was special, and she still is. Again, the manga isn't perfect, but I think even playing with gender norms like this back in the 80s is kind of wild, right? I'm not the only one who thinks that. I'm also not an expert on history of gender or being trans or anything like that, but I feel like this is a big deal. Hibari was loved and accepted all the way back then, and it meant one of the faces of Jump for a time was a trans girl, and I think that's metal as hell. What's more is the final chapter of Hibari introduces a trans mask character who is himself a reference and an homage to 70s Jump manga, specifically Motomiya's work and Otoko Epiki. I really love this. The joke involves making fun of Hibari as a manga, saying boys manga is dead, right around the time Fist of the North Star would be beginning. There's some funny meta-irony there, but the character themselves is an assigned female at birth character who has become one of those boys obsessed with manliness. It's weirdly inviting, inclusive, while also being appropriately silly, but not at the expense of anyone. Hibari is an absolute joy to read, and I highly recommend you read some of it if it sounds interesting. It has a full fan translation, and I'll also drop these two great videos too in the description if you'd like to know more about Hibari. Next, I want to talk about one of my videos. It's one I feel like I could have done much better with, but I don't regret making it. It's the one about sexism in Shonen Jump, and full disclaimer, it's not a great video. I think it's better that it exists though than not, and gradually I hope to explore what I wanted to do with it over time as my thoughts get more fleshed out. I think my core idea was to show that Shonen Jump wasn't as sexist as people might think it is, and it's a magazine for everyone, but some of the comments there just kind of made me depressed. Most of them were really long-winded, talking about how wrong I was. Some simply said shonen equals boys, so it's male-focused and it shouldn't cater to anyone else, end of discussion. And sure, the demographic of shonen manga is meant for younger male audiences, but as I've shown throughout this video, Jump is so much more than people think it is. It's so varied, and one of the magazine's core tenets is friendship, out of the friendship, effort, victory motto. I think friendship means more than what it is at its surface level, though. It's about connecting with your fellow people, having fun with them, loving them, enjoying with each other. So many Jump manga value friendship, companionship, and love. Its flagship series, One Piece, I think goes one step beyond and champions this idea of inclusion, that any good person deserves to be happy, deserves friends, regardless of who or what you are, and that extends to Jump too. In my eyes, the magazine goes beyond the idea that it's stuck to a single demographic. It's the most popular manga magazine in the world after all. So many manga in it appeal to all sorts of different people. You don't have to be a 10-year-old boy to read Shonen Jump. You can be a girl who loves battle manga, loves seeing powerful characters duke it out. Maybe that pumps you up. You can be a boy who loves all the romance and sports series the magazine has to offer, and maybe you don't care about any of the battle series. You can be a trans person who looks up to a character in Jump for inspiring you to try your best, to not give up on your dreams or yourself. You can be young, old, a student, a brother, a mother, a dad, a construction worker, an astronaut. You can be whatever you are because Jump is really for everyone, no matter who you are. It's here for us to enjoy together, to talk about how cool or impactful the manga are, and to make us smile. I sincerely believe all of this to the bottom of my heart. I don't know who you are watching this video. Maybe you're a manga fan who doesn't care much for Jump. Maybe you think it's all unga bunga battle shonen and you absolutely hate it. Maybe you're a fan who loves it a ton and clicked on this video out of curiosity. If you can, please take away something from this video. Take away that Jump is a very old magazine. It's one with a lot of history and has a lot of variety, built on the back of hundreds of authors with stories and messages to tell, but predominantly they made something to make you happy, to entertain you and to brighten your day. Give some Jump manga a chance and maybe pick one of the ones I've mentioned in this video, or check the official Shonen Jump app. There's a ton of manga there for you to read, and there's a lot of good stuff in my opinion. I really hope you enjoyed this video, but more importantly, I hope I might have enlightened you a little on how special and different Jump might be to what you might have initially thought it was. It's something really precious to me, and I just want to cultivate more love for it and discuss my love of manga with like-minded people. If you want more of me rambling about Jump, I have plenty on my channel, including my History of Shonen Jump series, which so far has me going from the magazine from its origin in 1968 all the way to 1981, the aim being to tackle every single year of Jump through this video series. I also have more modern content on my channel, and I want to keep making Jump manga videos for as long as I can, so please subscribe if you like the sound of that. As always, thank you for watching. Remember to be kind to each other and take care.